So are we live streaming? Yes, we're on? Yep, okay. So good morning everyone, and thank you for attending our Ordinary Council meeting today, Wednesday the 24th of January 2024. I declare the meeting officially opening at 9:02. So I do advise the members of the public that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with the Council's standing orders. Councillors and staff are reminded of their responsibilities under their respective codes of conduct, both inside the council meeting and when dealing externally on behalf of council. So on behalf of the Whitsunday Regional Council, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet here today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We do recognise their deep, enduring connection to country, and we extend our respect and gratitude to their wisdom and culture. I'd also like to welcome our councillors, WRC staff, members of the public, both on the live stream and also our media that's present today. So let's start with agenda item number 1, which is apologies, and we do have an apology from Councillor Brunker today due to work commitments. I just need to also say that as we do have a cyclone forming out in the Coral Sea, our local area, Whitsunday area, is in the warning zone. We have, of course, the local disaster coordination centre has been activated, and as chair of the local disaster management group, I'm actually needed in there today. So for today's meeting, I will be handing over to our Deputy Mayor to chair the meeting today. So I will be excusing myself. Thank you. Over to you. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Okay. Just following on from Julie, with the weather event out there, we'll try and be as brief as we can today. I think everyone wants to get home and tidy up just in case there's some rain on the way. So we'll move on to item 2, condolences. Are there any councillors that wish to acknowledge John Collins?
I'd like to note the passing of Andre Mastrowski. Andre is a true pioneer of the Proserpine Whitsunday tourism. He ran as manager from Hayman Island from the 50s through to the 80s and did the rebuild after Cyclone Ada. He's a great friend of many in the local area still, well he was, and many people in this town, probably all in their 60s and 50s and 70s, well 50s and 60s at least now, they're all went there, worked there after school, and a lot of local people have actually worked there and have stayed in contact with the man over the years. So I'd just like to note his passing. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Collins. We'll have that recorded in the minutes. On behalf of Whitsunday Regional Council, we would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to all the recently departed in the Whitsunday region, and our sincere condolences to their families and loved ones. Could you all be upstanding for a minute's silence, please? Okay, thank you. Be seated. We'll move on to item 3.
Mr. Chair, can I just double back? I don't have a record of the vote on the apology being taken between you standing up and the mayor leaving the room. Did we have a vote on the apology to Councillor Brunker?
Well, moved by Chair. Second by Michelle. All in favour? Votes carried 5-0. All good. Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of minutes. Jason, do you,
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. There will be a change to the minutes. We've received some clarification from Councillor Bowman on how his conflict of interest has been recorded, and we will be inserting the details that were about that submission so that that's clear in the minutes as well. So the declaration still stands, it's just clarifying what the matter of the submissions was about. So those two sentences will be added into the conflict of interest declaration, if council's happy with that.
everyone happy with that? Move. Someone to move, Chair. Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Bowman. All those in favour? Okay, it's carried 5-0. Business arising. Would any councillor like to raise any business arising from the previous minutes? So put that to the vote. No, we don't. Item number 5 is a Merrill minute. There won't be a Merrill minute today. Item number 6, notice of motion. There's no agenda there. Item number 7, deputations. No deputations have been received for this meeting. Item number 8, petitions. Does any councillor have a petition they wish to put on the table today? No, thank you. So item number 9, questions from the public gallery. No questions were received for this meeting. Item number 10, committee reports. The Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes on the 28th of November 2023. Just move by,
In a second.
yeah, well, moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Wright. I ask you to speak to it, please, Director Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, councillors, you have before you the final audit committee meeting for the calendar year 2023. There are a couple of highlights that I'll draw out for your attention from those minutes. The first one was around the review of the committee charter and the performance of the audit committee. Following some further investigations, discussions between our internal auditors, O'Connor Mara and the Queensland Audit Office, the committee sought to increase its membership from 2 external members plus 2 council members to increase the external representation to 3 external members, one of those being an independent chair and 2 councillors. The membership also will allow for better succession planning. So what we did see in the last term of council was we had change in the council members. We had some changes in the chairing of that committee through that term as well. And to date, there is a need for some continuity to be kept through there. So part of that would be to increase the membership to allow for that succession planning, because the 2 independent members are coming to the end of their term as well. They've been on the committee around 6 or 7 years now, and we really see, maximum 7 years as the term that should be there for that independence and objectivity to remain. There's also a desire to increase the oversight around risk management for the organisation. It is known as the Audit and Risk Management Committee, and there needs to be some greater focus around risk management. Also with extensions on focus for areas of procurement and safety as well. The meeting dates and the internal audit plan for the 24 calendar year were also confirmed at that meeting. We received an update on the revaluation of asset classes that are happening across the current financial year for 23-24, and that's a significant activity and will be oversighted through that committee. The committee received an internal audit report on the ICT planning and direction and the ICT strategic plan just to provide oversight on that. And we also updated the work that we've been undertaking throughout the organisation on cyber security they were the key areas of interest for the committee in December. Happy to take any questions that might arise.
Any questions? Councillor Barnett?
Thank you. Just with Mr. Webb and Mr. Finlay approaching the end of the term and taking on this third member, how can we organise that so that we do end up with a varied of start dates or end dates so that we apply that continuity rather than having 3 new people?
Yeah, that's the intention, Councillor Bowman, is to stagger that so that we're changing essentially one each year over the next couple of years. And we'll also be potentially vetting new council members, so it will be unhelpful to have 5 fresh faces there who aren't familiar with the operations of the committee, and we're trying to build that succession planning so throughout the terms of council that we see that rolling on a more continuous basis rather than what we've had for the current time. Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay, can I put that to the vote, please? All those in favour? 0, that's carried. Thank you. Next item is 11.1, Tondara Road seal. The item was tabled at the last ordinary council meeting in December, pending further information regarding costs and to be brought back in January 2024 for consideration. Further information has now been provided regarding costs attached to this report as a memo. The original report was presented at the December ordinary council meeting. I seek a mover and a seconder to take the item off the table. Councillor Bowman. Second. Councillor Clifford. That the council take off the table the report on Tondara Road seal that was presented and tabled at the December ordinary council meeting. Following the decision.
So, is there a mover and a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Mover.
So we
Take it
vote
off
on
the
this?
table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with
Yeah.
So what was the movement?
Councillor Clifford and Councillor Barnett. Could we have a vote on that, please? All those in favour?
Take the item off the table, so it's laid on the table, we're going to take it off the table.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
So just a formality.
That's carried 5-0. Right. That was to take the item off the table.
And now it's here.
Following the decision on the recommendation. Council at its December ordinary meeting introduced the following motion, but the motion was never decided on. It is now live and brought back to Council to consider. The motion was originally moved by Councillor Wright and seconded by Councillor Branco. That the Council consider in the 24-25 budget to extend the seal on Tondara Road at chainage 5.3 kilometres, is that right? By 150 metres to suitably reduce dust residents on the adjacent property.
Sorry, we may need to, just ask Councillor Wright whether she's happy with that motion. We may need a different seconder, we don't have a seconder in the room.
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. What are we doing?
Sorry. So basically what happened was, at the last meeting, Council equivalently stopped the clock. We were in the middle of the debate, we've got a motion on the table and we've actually stopped the clock. We're now started the clock again, exactly where we were previously in relation to that. So we have a motion that's currently on the table in relation to that. But if we actually need a mover and the seconder to be okay with that. At this stage, we don't have a seconder in the room, so we would need a new seconder from someone who's actually in the room.
Right, seconded by Councillor Collins.
Who moved it?
You.
At the last meeting. But this isn't the recommendation that I put forward. So I don't support
on the
this.
screen, Councillor. What's in the bold text
Oh,
there
okay.
is
Yep.
what you put forward, and that's what you are now bringing up to vote on.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You happy with that?
Yeah.
So that should be what was actually on the screen when we actually stopped the clock at the last meeting.
That's just not what's in the report.
No.
No, the report's a separate item. Yeah, so that's what the motion is. It's been moved and it's actually been seconded by Councillor Collins. So we're able to just start the debate again in relation.
So, we speak for or against, or when you put it to debate. Does anyone want to speak for? Councillor Wright?
Thank you. Through the chair, I think everyone knows where I stand on this. We are being proactive. This is something that has been in the budget for the past couple of years, so we're well aware of this. And at the end of the day, look, and something that I probably haven't mentioned before, this is also a road that leads to the north. So from Tondara Road, it actually joins onto Strathalbyn Road, which forms part of the Collinsville at Peter Delnoth Road. So that essentially you can end up in Gumbaloo. So this is a thoroughfare, and it is used by miners as well as the general public and all sorts of contractors and operators and feed deliverers and everything. So it is one of the higher order roads on our registers. So this to me is one of the roads that do qualify. So I think everything is justified here. But look, at the end of the day, I would like to see progression, and this is a step in that direction. It has been in the budget for previous years. I know there has been a change with the situation of the gold mine, but that still doesn't eliminate the fact that it is a thoroughfare to a lot of other industries as well, such as the mines and graziers and farmers in the area as well. So yeah, I'm happy to move ahead and progress with this. And at the end of the day, this is our asset too. So yeah, look, we did just recently throw a lot of money at something that did belong to the state government with no budget in sight. So this is nothing new. We have previously discussed this. It's been in the budget. I would just like to see this move forward today.
Thanks, Councillor Wright. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Bowman?
Yeah. Obviously has been going on for a long period of time. We've watched the change of ownership in the mine and now the mine closing down. From what I've read, the money for this was 70% was coming from the mine for these improvements. Last week, the Deputy Mayor and myself went up there, had a drive along the road. I can see the improvements that have happened with the resealing, and only by smoke from a fire could we even know where this property was, not even in sight of the road. So for me, I'm struggling to see how 150 metres of seal to a road that's to a house that is on the southern side of the road could make a difference. And, such a small seal is not really going to change any other factors of the road. I think there's already been a lot of improvements in the causeways, things like that. I'd see them as more major issues than a small amount of resurfacing. My visit.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman. Anyone else want to speak for or against? Right of reply, Michelle.
Thank you, through the chair. To me, this is more than just satisfying one homeowner. Like this is a piecemeal approach, and yeah, look, we are being proactive here. Like it is about sealing one of our higher order roads, and we can only do that at a time. And I gave the example of Strathmore Road. Previous councils, they have slowly chipped away and got it sealed. So, and that's something that I would be looking at doing in the future, like not just leave it here, but continually improve. And that's what we're here for, to continually improve our local roads, and this is a step in that direction.
Thanks, Councillor Wright. Does anyone else want to speak for or against? So I'll put it to the vote. This is Michelle's motion up on the board there. All those in favour? All those against? Motion is lost, 2-3. So we'll revert back to the original motion.
Could I have a division, is that what you call it?
Sure.
Please?
It's all right, it's called for a division, so it's Councillor Wright and Collins for, Martin, Clifford and Simpson against.
Just we need someone to move, there's nothing on the table at the moment, so someone to move a motion and move the officer's recommendation.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I
So-
was just waiting for this.
Right, so moved by Councillor Clifford and seconded by Councillor Bowman that we move back to the officer's recommendation. Read that.
Just waiting for it to go on the screen.
Recommendation. The council not seal Tondara Road.
We're trying to copy it down.
Can we copy down?
Just leave it there so
That's
they
right,
can
do I
see
want me
it.
to read that out? So the recommendation is to not seal Tondara Road from change 17.3 to 19.4 for dust suppression. So that's the recommendation on the table. So do we open it up for debate for or against anybody?
Do we need a mover and seconder for this?
We do.
Yes.
I'll talk briefly to this again, but
Councillor Bowman?
thank you. The last motion was about 5.5 kilometres. I had a look along there. This is further out along the road again. I think the gravel and the work that's been up there has improved the road surface a fair bit. And our drive along, we saw a few small vehicles coming back, possibly road workers. The rest of the time on the road was no traffic. So may be used at certain times, and I certainly hope the condition of the road holds up. But I also think if that mine comes back again and those funds start flowing into the road improvements, that's when we can look at sealing, when we do have somebody else rather than the ratepayers paying for something that's obviously of a large extent.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman. Anyone else want to speak for or against? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? 3. Motion's carried. 3 against, sorry. Motion's carried 3-2. Move on to 11.2, community engagement strategy. Is John Owen?
Yeah.
John Owen, can you speak to that, please? Moved by Councillor Clifford, second by Councillor Wright.
Good morning all. So the development of the community engagement strategy commenced in last year at the development consultation in March to April, but really that consultation extended through the year as we undertook community catch-ups throughout the region. It helped to collect a lot of information that informed the strategy, so we asked questions like how stakeholders want to hear about our projects, the role they want to play in the project's development, how they would like to offer their feedback, and some areas for improvement in our engagement processes. Some of the feedback we got that there is a diverse preference for hearing and engaging, and that's reflective of, I guess, the diverse demographics that we have in our townships throughout the region. The majority, they're happy to engage online in their own time, but there are still a strong contingent. 37% of respondents identified that they do still like to engage face-to-face via workshops and community meetings. The majority prefer to engage early to shape a project and again later, so it indicates a bit of a two-step process where possible, and particularly for, I think, the more longer-term strategic documents, that's an avenue we can explore. Social media, newsletters, direct email and community meetings and workshops were the preferred methods. And some of the areas for improvement was really just improving consistency throughout our process, from raising awareness, collecting that feedback, informing people of what the issues were, and also raising awareness and closing the loop at the end of that decision as well. Some of the key values that came out of consultation to embed into the strategy were meaningful consultation so that residents feel like their feedback has an actual impact on the project, and transparent decision making. So the community engagement strategy is basically a philosophy for how we undertake our engagement practices, and it also sets out some future actions for our improvements. The principles that we've set out that are essentially our philosophy to be proactive and collaborative. So that's again seeking that high level early feedback where possible to inform the direction of those visionary strategic policies, meaningful and relevant, and that's really just zooming in on what areas of the project may be subject to change, informed. So that's really providing fact sheets and the like to help good submissions, active listening, which is particularly essential in face-to-face consultation where you can just dwell a little bit deeper into what the core issues are by having a bit of a conversation. Transparent and accountable decision making, which I think speaks for itself in that closing the loop process. Inclusive and equitable input, which is where we're trying to really seek the underrepresented feedbacks, I guess, and building those relationships and trust. And I think through the above principles there, that relationships and trust with council's decision making and our engagement processes will improve. There's some factors that are in the strategy that influence our engagement process, so things like the project technical complexity, historic consultation where we might already have some feedback that's informed kind of that first step or the reason for embarking on the project in the first place, the scale of interest and impact, timeline for a decision if there's grant timelines, for example, if it's an operational matter just like a renewal or the like and there's not an opportunity for meaningful feedback, and if council isn't the project proponent, obviously things like development are governed by the Planning Act. Some of the actions we're looking to develop are really building our relationships with some of the key expert groups, so across environment, economic and social interest groups. There's some real knowledge banks out there that it'd be great to build those trusting relationships with them and help collect that early feedback. Developing relationships with some of the underrepresented groups to ensure we can collect their feedback in the decision-making process, improving face-to-face engagement, development of stakeholder profiles, which helps us to better understand what the priorities are for each community and what kind of issues might be in individual projects, and doing some investigation into how we can better portray our projects as well. So whether that be mapping of some of our consultation projects or capital works projects, and development of newsletters as well that can help to close the loop and keep everyone in the loop of what's going on. So that's the gist of the community engagement strategy. Is there any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Bowman and Councillor Wright.
Thank you. Thanks for the work you put in. I know a lot of this comes down to you and communications, doing a lot of out of business hours, interaction with the community. I think it shows how diverse our community is. Maybe more to Director Jason is just the reason for the shift from policy to a strategy. It's there for us to remove the community engagement policy and then go across to
I'll be able to handle that one. So yeah, that's the second part of the resolution, is to revoke the policy. And reason being is that the strategy, I guess, is overarching, so that would be just duplicated in a policy. So there's no need for both there, and that's why we're looking to revoke the policy and just have the strategy in place.
Thanks, Jono. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. Jono, this is a very important body of work, and I can see the improvements. Like, it's always been good, but since you've been on board, like this, just the level of communication and consultation has definitely increased. So yeah, just you're there early in the mornings. The couple of projects that we have worked together on, like the Choose Collinsville Main Street, the Bushy Bay Trails, and the Collinsville, and the Mullers Lagoon Master Plan, like they're, I think we really did reach out and see and speak to a lot of people, received a lot of feedback. So I think this is definitely a step in the right direction, and it's good that we know how people want to engage with us. Like, that's really important. So yeah, thank you very much for putting this forward today.
Thanks, Jono. Anyone else make any comments? So we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against, that's carried 5-0. Thanks, Jono. Well done. 11.3 Local Housing Action Plan. Councillor Bowman.
I'd like to move a motion, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to move a motion that Council endorse the draft Whitsunday Regional Council Local Housing Action Plan, the attachment 1, to proceed to the state review after we adjust paragraph 1 and figure 6 of section 3.13 to represent the total number of visitor nights for the region, and that we also adjust paragraph 7 to say that tourist accommodation demand is impacting the ability of longer term rental stock for tourism workers and residents. To minimise encroachment into areas for predominantly residential use, Council will continue to investigate the possibility of removing planning scheme support for short-term accommodation dwellings within some residential areas of the region. And as part 2, that we do note the Greater Whitsunday Housing Summit Action Plan.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Okay, sorry, can I just raise a possible perceived conflict of interest, because I am a director of Greater Whitsunday Communities and we're accepting their report, but I do not hold an executive position, so I guess it's up to you guys whether I stay in the room or leave the room.
As far as I'm concerned, you're appointed by council
Yes.
as a position, so I don't have any issues. Does anyone else?
Okay, fine, thank you. I just thought I'd bring it up.
Thanks,
That was all.
Councillor Clifford. We'll need a seconder for Councillor Bowman's motion. Thanks, Councillor Clifford,
Yeah.
seconded. So any debate for or against this? Councillor Bowman? Speak
I'd
to
like
it.
to speak to it briefly, thank you, Deputy Mayor. First thing is just correcting some figures. I think the Local Government Association drafted this up initially. They picked up a graph that's only doing our domestic visitor nights. It's not including the international visitors, up around 1.3 million a year. That obviously dropped off during COVID and are slowly picking their way up again. So I'd just like to correct those figures and discussions. And the second part is really to show that we're not locking ourselves in here. We're just leaving ourselves open and advising the state government that we'll continue that possibility of a red light, green light thing to just create some assurity in our dormitory suburbs. It's not locking us into that today. It is just doing as we have done, been working through this situation, and this is just advising the state government that we'll continue to do so. Wish to have your support.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman. I'd just like to speak what you say about the total visitor numbers. I think it's really important that when we advocate for our region with the state government, to have the numbers right. Like it's flies under the table. The numbers are out there. We all know it, but yeah, we don't seem to be getting our fair share of the cake. So I think it's important that these numbers are correct. So that's my comment. Would anyone else like to make a comment?
I'd just like to hear the director please.
Director Neil?
Thank you, Mr Chair. The first part, it's just correcting numbers. The international numbers weren't really taken after COVID hit, and they've only just recently resumed taking numbers, so that's the reason why there wasn't a lot of international figures in there. The second thing is it's more a matter that the council has discussed the implications for short-term accommodation, and council continues to monitor it. The important part about the recommendation is that it continues on the basis of it being an investigation, so everything will come back to council.
Councillor Wright?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. And just the tourist accommodation demands, that one, like as long as we look at not just Airlie Beach, like it is Bowen as well, because the agriculture does have seasonal workers as well, and yeah, they have been in a position in the past couple of years where they are taking up accommodation, tourism accommodation as well. So as long as it's a broader look at the whole area, I'm happy to support that.
Happy with that, Director McGaff?
Yes, Mr Chair.
Okay. No further comments. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried 5-0. Yes. Item 11.4. Ted Cunningham Bridge reinstatement. Moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Clifford. The recommendation is to authorise the CEO to negotiate a cost-sharing agreement with the contractor to reinstate the bridge approach up to a limit of 200,000 of council's funds. Could I ask Acting Director? Michael, sorry, I forgot your name. Thanks.
For you, Deputy Mayor. So the report in front of you is quite simple. We want to see some progress on this. We've had a number of meetings with the contractor and designer, and I suppose we've had a bit of a breakthrough. They're willing to come to the table, and rather than go through a fairly protracted court case that could be 12 months, 24 months for all we know, plus quite hefty costs, we see this as the most sensible way forward to see that benefit sooner for the people out there who use the road and who live in the region. So,
Councillor Clifford's question.
Thank you through you, Mr Chair, to the Director, Acting Director. Last hurrah. What would you estimate, and I know you haven't got a crystal ball, but what would you estimate our costs would be if we proceeded along the legal path?
good question.
Way more than that, or about
Good
that?
question. For you, Deputy Mayor. So I suppose if we look at some of the examples, maybe of what Director McGaffin has shown, some of these going on for 12 months might be coming up to $500,000. So as a guess, yeah, that would not surprise me. I don't think it's, even though we believe we have a strong case, so does the contractor and the designer. So it's not going to be a simple one. We need quite a few experts, quite a bit of time. So yeah, expecting it would be comfortably over this value. That was part of the reason why for the
Yeah, so in the redesign of the approaches, we're quite comfortable that this isn't going to happen again. And what sort of a guarantee, do we have on that it's not going to happen again?
asking the good questions today.
Sorry.
So at the moment that design is still being worked on. The designer is getting flood modelling carried out. We've reserved our rights with these independent experts to have that checked by another body. That'll give us that confidence, or either way or not. This also still then forms part of the contracted works, so we do have warranties of such. They will be part of this negotiation. So typically you get 12 months. We'll see where that lands, whether it's extended, shorter. Both parties again will have opportunity to put forward their case and see where that lands.
That's all right.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. Director, I know there's a few people out in that part of the world that have been watching this very closely and have read this report, and they're happy for this to definitely be finalised and sorted. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about, that we are taking the easiest option, and the easiest option sometimes isn't always what's best. So I just want to make sure that this is correct. And there is, reading the report, it does say in here that it is just a conceptual design, so there's nothing finalised, and also they're still undertaking the flood study. So are we sort of signing off on something that we don't really know the full costs of just yet, is my question. But look, to me, look, I'm happy to put in, because this needs to be fixed. Like, the community out there do just want fixed. But we are also only looking at one approach and not the other end. And I know rivers, they do change their flow patterns and that sort of thing. Will this flood study also incorporate that other approach? And if there's work needs to be done, that we do it now, rather than wait till it's washed away, we have another event and then we're back in the same position. So just like some guarantees that will be the way it is, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. So your question there was regarding the figures. We've been given a conceptual estimate of 350,000 or so, giving ourselves a little bit of leeway in that limit, but have said that is a maximum up to 50%. So if the design does creep, we have set that limit through the tables vote. The other approach at the moment is not the main focus. However, the model will provide that. The report from the independent engineers did say they didn't see it as needing that immediate fix. It is located in a different location. The modelling is not showing the scour occurring there like this approach has been shown. So at the moment it's seen as a lower risk. Not going to be completely ignored because they will provide us with their modelling. We'll have our opportunity to assess that and really see what the final scope will be of this remaining works. And I suppose going back to the first point about the easy way out, it can be seen as an easier way out. However, I wouldn't say it's the easy way out. This is probably what really should have happened in the first place. And we're not really settling for the lowest of the low. This meets the standards, and they're proving that it will last in those conditions. There could have been, a lengthy battle to extend the bridge by a span or two. That's where we really have to be careful on how we treat this legally, what we can say, what we can't, how we can direct changes to the scope of the contract. So I suppose easier and smoother way forward is the way of putting it rather than easiest. It still will get us an asset that hopefully we'll be confident and prove that we're confident it'll last and keep the people out there at the water for the vast majority of the time.
Yeah, just a final comment, please, through the chair. Look, really, really glad that this is coming back. Bit disappointed we couldn't have done this sooner for the people, but yeah, look, I do think this is going to be a good outcome as long as it's signed off by an engineer. We do get it checked from that outside engineer, and it's all meets all the standards and it's strong enough to last a flood. So yeah, look, I think this is a good outcome.
I suppose the last part to add there is obviously we do share that disappointment that this thing has dragged on. It's been over 12 months. No one wants it to last that long, but we've had to really be careful throughout. Until we had the report that's included in there, that's when we've seen some real momentum, and that was provided in October. Sometimes they take a while to get to that point, unfortunately, but at least now we are seeing a way forward.
Just on that, I'd like to congratulate you, Michael, on your work. You were sort of pretty much thrown off the end of the bridge a few months back, and you've done a pretty good job in your interim as your acting director of this. And it's, you've picked up the ball and run with it. And let's hope, fingers crossed, between your department and the CEO, we can get this sorted, and maybe they'll have a bridge to cross come next wet season. So not much more to say. I'll put that one to the vote. Thanks. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. What's the next one? 11.5 development permit. Material change of use. Met Mast on Station Road, Proserpine. The recommendation that council approve the application for development permit for material change of use for the undefined use to Met Mast made by CI Proserpine Proprietary Limited. Might go through the rest of that. So could I have a mover, please? For this recommendation, moved by Councillor Wright, seconder. Councillor Collins. Anyone want to speak for or against or report? Anyone on this? Councillor Bowman?
Thank you. Just sort of follow through, I think the Met Masts are just for the testing, but the wind strengths things out there for about 5 years, possibly. Just the met mask coming before council, if it does move ahead to a wind farm, does that then come under the state, or we're still involved if they do move forward into a wind farm?
Neil?
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. All I know is that the future work, if it does eventuate into a renewable energy field, that will require approval. Council will have an input either as the assessment body or a referral body if it goes through the state. Now, it could depend on the magnitude of the proposal as to whether it's captured through the state entity or whether it comes to council. I guess we won't really know that until we understand the magnitude of it.
Yep. Anyone else want to speak to that? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. Thank you. 11.6. Councillor Bowman.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I have a prescribed conflict of interest from making a submission on this development application over 2 years ago. It's the development application for a preliminary approval, including a variation request, material change of use for a resort complex in Airlie Beach. Just some clarity this time, I'm obligated under Section 150 EL of the Local Government Act to give the matters and the subject of my submission in this meeting. The matters that were the subject of my submission included coastal hazards, proximity to the commercial vessels, building height and the parking. But as I have the conflict, I'll leave the rest.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman. Right. So we have a recommendation there, moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Wright. Can I ask Director McGaffin to give us a brief overview of this, please?
Sure, thank you, Deputy Mayor. The proposal is, as Councillor Bowman indicated, a resort complex. It's a preliminary approval, which basically means that if an application comes in and complies with what Council's approving today, it will be code accessible. It won't need to go out through any further public consultation. It has 102 units. It's a more of a flexible accommodation. It's not a traditional unit or hotel. The rooms are, some are standard, some are what has been classified as together, which caters for up to 4, and other rooms that will cater for up to 8 people. There are also some self-contained units in there, and it's really aimed at family or tour groups, so it's a little bit different to the traditional hotel motel. It does have a restaurant, it does have a commercial aspect as far as a dive school. There are two swimming pools, one you would expect to be used for the dive school and the other to be used by guests. There is a bar, and it does have a games room, laundry and kitchen and gymnasium, and certainly the laundry and kitchen are provisions that you wouldn't normally see for guests in a hotel. So there has been work done in regard to car parking, and Council will remember at the last meeting they agreed to an infrastructure agreement with the proponent to provide 50 car parks on land just around the corner. A visual impact analysis has been provided. That indicates that the visual impact is acceptable. There were 5 submissions, 3 correctly made and 2 not correctly made, and all of the issues that have been provided in those submissions have been assessed and are included in the report.
Thanks, Director Neil. Question from Councillor Clifford.
Thank you, through you, Chair. To the Director, does it comply with our town plan?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, as far as the council, as far as I'm concerned, it does, in respect that it satisfies the need and
That's not the question. The question is, does it comply with our town plan as far as heights, etc. are concerned?
As far as heights go, the height requirement is 12 metres, so if it was 12 metres or below, it would not need to come to council because it could be code accessible. But as you know, that it is possible to approve developments above the height limits. And we've had the discussion in council as far as the ability for any development to go above the designated height, and the the suitability of the word maximum. Certainly from an officer level it was not considered appropriate, but it's in the planning scheme. The issue about the height is taken into account when you look at the bulk and scale of the building. If you had a building that complied with 12 metres across the entire site, it would look substantially different. In this regard, the building doesn't occupy the entire site. It is put into sections. I was going to say fragmented, but it's not a block building. You'll see from the elevations it is reasonably attractive, and there are gaps for the visual impact to go through. So the visual impact between a standard 12 metre building and what we have in front of us is considered acceptable and attractive.
Seeing as this is a preliminary approval, there's nothing says that that's what they have to build so long as they stay within that framework.
That's correct. What this is doing is providing a three-dimensional envelope, as you will. If they come back with a different set of structures that go above the 12 metres, I'd expect that will have to come back because it will be inconsistent with the preliminary approval.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried 3-1.
Recorded as against, please.
Division has been called. Division has been called.
No, I just asked to be
No,
recorded.
just- oh,
I don't need to do that. Division either. Oh, sorry.
So we get Councillor Bowman back. Councillor Bowman, yes, that was approved 3-1. $11.7. Oops. We have a recommendation, 11.7. The council approved the application. We have the top part.
yeah, just the top
Just the
one.
top part. 11.7, 20230994, preliminary approval for material change of use for 7 dual occupancy. It's disappeared. 7 dual occupancy lots that include a variation request, 62 Jubilee Pocket Road, Jubilee Pocket 37 RP 74159, J&J Madison, the Vision Surveys. So, moved by Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Wright. Could I ask you to give us a bit of an overview on this one, please, Director Neil?
Sure, Deputy Mayor. This development is underway, being constructed. If you drive along Jubilee Pocket Road, you can't miss it. There are 20 lots in total. It was approved in September 2017. And the preliminary approval means that the lots identified will be able to have dual occupancies constructed on them. It will require a code accessible application, but it won't require an impact accessible application. So that's the significant difference between the two. The 7 lots have been identified in the plan, and they are generally the larger lots to cater for the additional dwelling that would be located on them. And that's about it.
Thanks, Director Neil. Questions, Councillor Bowman?
Speak briefly, I was down there over the weekend, and since coming along there's another development next to it. I just noticed that within the development manual, the standard road width for an access street like this one is 6 metres, but the development approval condition 6.5 metre road width. Is there a reason why we went above and beyond the standard road width in this development? Is it to do with the density?
Through Deputy Mayor, look, I need to go back and check that. The approval was issued back in 2017. So yeah, what we're dealing with is just the identification of the lots rather than the previous conditions.
Thanks for that. Any other questions? Councillor Clifford?
Thank you. I'm just hoping that, look, we need the additional accommodation, particularly down my part of the world. I'm just hoping that when these dual occupancies go in, that there is enough room to get 2 cars in the driveways and things like that, because at the moment down around Tubes in particular and in Cannon Vale with some of the smaller and more confined streets, the cars are all parked out on the street, and boats and trailers and caravans and all the rest of it, and it makes it very difficult for the rubbish trucks and delivery trucks and fire trucks, God forbid, to access. So I just hope that that's taken into account when the plans are drawn up.
Thanks, Councillor Clifford. Any other comments or questions? We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. Move on to item 11.8, request to enter into an infrastructure agreement, T7 Jubilee Pocket Infrastructure Agreement 2023. Moved by Councillor Clifford, second by Councillor Bowman. Do you want to give us a quick overview on this one too, please, Director Neil?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is one of the first developments that significantly impact on the local government infrastructure plan. It will ultimately provide a link between Erromango and St. Bees Boulevard. It will be an important road connection. It provides, basically means that there is an ability to go from one to the other without having to go back to the main Shute Harbour Road. Because it's in the local government infrastructure plan, it is offset by infrastructure charges. So ultimately what that means is that the council will be paying for the trunk road that is constructed, and that what we've tried to do is to look at what's reasonable. We've had engineers at 20 paces from both sides that have looked at it and think that it represents an appropriate construct in that area.
Thanks, Director Neil. Question?
Yes.
Councillor Clifford?
Yeah, through you to the Director. Just for those playing along at home, etc., the road width and footpath infrastructure that is to be constructed, because we have a retirement village as part of this development, and I would think that there would be scooters and all sorts of things involved for people to get around, particularly if they wanted to come down to the shopping centre on Erromango just to grab a or the post office and things like that.
The plan that you'll find in the minutes has footpaths on both sides of the road, one 2.5 metres wide, one on the other 1.5 metres in width. It will require some augmentation by council to enable people to use a footpath from the site down to the IGA. There is obviously a stretch of Erromango that doesn't have footpaths that council will obviously need to look at in future capital works programs if this development proceeds. The width of the road as suggested is 20 metres with a 10 metre seal, footpaths either side.
Thanks, Director Neil. Any other?
Yeah. So I also understand from our discussions that this will eventually become a bus route as well, that there will be buses going down this road. Is that road width sufficient to take a bus and cars parked on either side of the road?
Yes, it is, as far as it certainly satisfies the urban major collector standard that council has in its development manual. It is identified as being a suitable width for a bus route. And yes, there may be occasions where you have cars parked on either side and you've still got to get heavy vehicles through. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but it is unlikely that it would be frequent. Nonetheless, if you have two cars parked and you've got two vehicles, I would expect that that would slow the traffic down and make that perhaps a safer interaction.
Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have the benefit of living on Eshelby Drive. To my left, I have a 12-metre road reserve. To my right, I go through a 6-metre road reserve where we always have people half on the footpath and you still can't get two cars by. Then we fall into a 10-metre road reserve at Jones Road. When there are cars parked both sides, two cars flowing can't get through at the same time. I think just as with the previous development, we saw a widening was conditioned to give more room. When we come to this is trunk infrastructure, so the ratepayers are going to end up paying. So many places we don't have any footpath.
True.
This one we're looking at putting footpaths both sides without even saying the widest footpath will be on the same side as the retirement village. I would just think when we've still got to deal with 700 metres between this development and Shute Harbour Road and the IGA, do we want the ratepayers on top of this to be paying for footpaths both sides of the road at this point? So in discussions, I was just wondering if we could vary this motion to propose an 11-metre wide road surface with a 2.5 metre wide footpath on just the retirement facility side, the southeast side of the road, staying within the 20-metre wide road reserve. I think that allows us that bit more room. We know it's going to be high density here. We'll end up probably with small blocks of land with big houses on them. This is also allowing them to put driveways the whole way along the street, where under the infrastructure agreement they wouldn't be allowed to. We're going to have cars parked there. Let's give them a bit of bitumen to save them parking on our footpath. Let's give ourselves one footpath on the retirement village side, and then the ratepayers only have to pay for one side to be built all the way down to IGA. Of the prices of the prices we pay for Eshelby Drive, a much denser area where we only put a footpath down one side of the road, that second footpath would be looking at costing ratepayers about $800,000. So if the mover would like to go towards this, I think in the interim it might give us the opportunity to save the ratepayers money while improving the safety of the road network.
Just want to make a comment on that. I think we're getting a bit complicated here. I'd like a question for Director Neil. This roadway has two bridges on it as well, I understand. If we widen the road by a metre, that might have significant costs like blowouts with bridges.
Certainly, Deputy Mayor, there is one significant creek crossing. There is another, but not quite to the same magnitude as the one that's further to the southwest. And yes, if you increase the width of the road, there'd be a substantial cost additional to get over those drainage lines. Council's there is already a proposal for a 2.5 metre wide footpath on one side, and the suggestion would be if council wanted a footpath only on one side, but try and widen that to 3 metres as an offset. Now, that is going against the development manual, the standards in there, but yeah, sure, something for council to consider.
Yeah, so including, because you're negotiating this, Mr. Speaker, sorry. Yes, so that you could propose to them that they do that, and also have a very wide footpath on the side of the retirement village and not one on the other side. If you want to do that until you're political.
I think we'll just wait till it's shown.
I can speak to that. Yeah, we'll just wait at the moment until it's. Wait until the motion's sorted, and we'll go to Councillor Bowman, who seconded it, and then we'll have Councillor Wright.
It's 3 metres.
2.5, as you say, it's wide enough to exclude the
Okay.
So you happy with the seconder? You happy with that, Councillor Bowman? Rightio. So that's the motion up there now, so. Councillor Wright.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Thank you through the chair. So by putting this variation in, like, what's the repercussions of that?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, the repercussions I would expect would be twofold. If we're only asking for a 2.5 metre wide footpath on just the retirement facility side, it is a saving to the proponent because what we're suggesting that there would be a 1.5 metre wide footpath on the other. The 11 metre road, obviously you're constructing a wider road and there would be additional cost in that. I can't give you an estimated increase. What I can say is that the engineers from both sides have looked at it and said that the 10 metre seal is acceptable. 11 metres, once you get above 10 metres, it basically indicates the road is subarterial, which we don't think it functions in that way at the moment. On the other side of the coin, council is entering into an infrastructure agreement, so you can basically try and get what you want.
So, right, I'd be, Councillor Bowman, be fairly brief, please.
Just on the bridge width side of thing, if you're going to be putting in a 1.5 metre footpath on that side, then the cost variation of the bridge width isn't that much because you'd be building a 1.5 metre footpath or you'd be building a 1 metre road extension. I also think that it's not a cost to the proponent, it is a cost to the ratepayers to build that extra footpath, and that footpath might also be able to be added at any time in the future. It's just that we're not putting in 2 footpaths in this section of road when we don't have a complete footpath network in so many other areas. Even the majority of Jubilee Pocket Road only has a footpath on one side. So I do think in this fact of getting extra 1 metre of bitumen, they're building gutters, they're doing everything, the 1 metre of bitumen would come in cheaper than 1.5 metres of footpath concrete right down that side. I think then we can move that money towards getting the footpath to connect right through to IGA, and let's end up with one working footpath network rather than 2 more disjointed cut-off footpaths. My opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman. All right,
It's actually the friendly person now,
Well-
not IGA.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Happy with that. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0.
Thank you, everyone.
11.9. Have land management plan, Galbraith Park. Good. Moved by Councillor Bowman. I'll second that. I'm allowed to do that, I just realised. Could we? Could we have a brief overview of that, please, Director Jason?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So, councillors, what you have before you is a draft management plan. The intent of this report is to take that plan, subject to it being approved by council for submission to the Department of Resources. There's been public consultation undertaken on this plan, and as a result, amendments have been made to the draft management plan that's in the agenda to tie that work together and how we might progress other activities on that site and adjacent land. We also seek to commit some detailed master planning on the Galbraith Park Reserve area. I do have the relevant officers in the room if you have detailed questions. That's simply an overview from myself. Happy for us to take questions, and I'll call on the officers as needed.
Thanks, Director Jason. So Councillor Bowman.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that to get a community facility within Cantervale 4802 would be a big step forward. I think we all know where land costs are at the moment, and the clear economic sense here is that not only are we saving on land price purchases, we are activating our parkland, and we're reducing the overheads to the ratepayers that are paying the rent for the library and the community service centre each year at the moment, up around $300,000. One thing I think I saw clearly in the submissions is the maximum retention of green space, and that's where I'd like to ask to the manager specifically, and within this land management plan, just to point out where we are working on getting this over and above a car park that would be needed there anyway. So we're taking up minimal land footprint to build up over the car park. And the real benefit I see that separates us away from being next to a big box store is that this community centre can flow out into the parkland. And I think when you're trying to educate people about how special our environment is, putting ourselves within that green space really will make it a community centre that will service us long into the future. So just for Peter, if you could just clarify where we are at the design process.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Look, I suppose exactly that feedback did come through very strong through in the community consultation, and that is what the proposed design is looking at, is putting over half of it, of the actual car parks themselves under the building, so it actually reduces any of that impact on the green space. I think as well too, it's actually encompassing the fact is the building needs to sit within the landscape and actually being part of it as well too. So not only actually reducing the amount of land we're actually using, but making sure it fits within the land itself, and actually the building will open onto the green space, so it's actually using more of the green space.
Councillor Collins.
I'd just like to thank all those involved for finally getting this here. This hasn't something that's come in the last 12 months. This is something we've been working for the last 5 to 6 years, and finally see it come to council. This is sensational. Thank you to everyone for involved.
Thanks. And just to follow up on that, I think for the to try and incorporate this building with all the work that Landcare's done down there over the years, it will be a good outcome for all, I think, and everyone that lives there or people that visit, and so I think it's a good outcome. So, do you want to say something, Councillor Bowman?
Yeah, just briefly, thanks, Deputy Mayor, is really, but part of this facility is also then to activate our longer term plan of stormwater quality, water quality management, and also improvements on the park. The one thing I haven't seen drafted in it is just about getting that footpath network actually connecting right through to Whitsunday Green. So perhaps we could then pull residents off the side of Shute Harbour Road and be putting them through a far more people-friendly network that can then connect into the shopping centre.
It all sounds good. We'll just stick with what's on the
That's just the
agenda
one
here
thing
today.
that I don't see
Yeah.
mentioned in the land management plan at this point, but I think it leaves it open.
We'll propose that in the future. I think at this stage we need to get this done so we can get the grant and get it hopefully happening. So moving on from that, I think we've had enough discussion. We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. A couple more before smoker. 11.1, caretaker services for Lake Proserpine Campground. Have a recommendation that council award the contract. Oh, I won't go through all that. Moved by Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Collins. It's a brief overview. Please, Sean.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor and councillors. So this report is presented to Council for the consideration of the 10-year evaluation panel to award contract 50020230075 for the provision of caretaker services at Lake Proserpine Campground. So the officer's recommendation is that Council award the contract to Mark Christopher Hudson, trading as Lake Proserpine Glamping, to the amount of $693,000, excluding GST. There's a 10% contingency in there for a period of 3 years. And there's also 2 optional 12-month extensions in there to the value of $462,000, 10% contingency in there as well. So the background is Red Cat Adventures that currently have the contract for the management of these the campground there till the 12th of July. As this is due to expire, we had to go out for a tender to find a suitably experienced and qualified supplier of management for the Lake Proserpine Campground. And this is as per the local government regulations. The tender was released on the 18th of October 23. It closed at 2 p.m. on Wednesday the 8th of November. We received the one submission, and that is from Mark Hudson, currently basically a subcontractor for Red Cat Adventures. Looking at the evaluation panel's recommendation, Mark has demonstrated that they have extensive experience in managing the campground currently, and we're very happy with their services provided thus far, and therefore we recommend that we award this contract to them. I'll just state that the financial implications, this is in line with budget. We're about $1,000 over there for the period, but this is due to the 10% contingency, which we've built in as a cost to clean the cabins that are due to go in for Easter. Basically that'll be offset through the revenue that we gain out of these cabins. So it's actually in line with our budget if we take that into account.
Thanks, Sean. Job well done. Any other questions for Sean?
Quick ones for me. Thanks, Sean. It's been long up there. Just within this management plan, does this give them oversight of which areas are actually battened off for the glamping and the cabins, and how much of the public access camping area we're actually reducing for these individual operations? Does that come under their management, or is that still something under councillors? Just ensuring that we do have the appropriate amount of area there for people who do want to come in with vans and tents.
Yeah, so this includes the management of our wet and dry concession area. The 3 glamping tents that we currently have there is a small area, but still forms part of our deed and our land use area. So we're allowing that, while they're doing business out there. We also allow other glamping operators or other businesses to utilise the campground as well. They just make a reservation and we assign the use of a site to them as well, similar to what we're doing now. Just because those are slightly, I suppose they remain open and we get a percentage revenue turnover for those. Therefore, those are currently erected in that area and they remain there for the time.
Thanks, Sean.
Just a question. Does the caretaker live on site, or they've got to be around the area?
So they do have a person there 24 hours a day. So the caretakers, whenever they're not there, ensure that there is somebody overseeing it. For example, this weekend again, even with the weather, there'll be somebody positioned there 24/7.
Thanks. All happy with that? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. Move on to 11, Barrow and Boots, moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Clifford. Give us a brief overview.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So, councillors, I'll talk to this one as well. So the purpose of this report is to advise Council of a request to use the facilities at Lake Proserpine Campground for a large-scale music and camping event. So the officer's recommendation here is that Council undertake the following with the Event People Australia to hold a Barrow and Boots Music Festival at Lake Proserpine. Now the date currently is the 25th of May, even though just very recently this week they've reached out and requested us to look at the 21st till the 23rd of June, so the 22nd of June instead. And the reason that they've asked for this is purely because there is a fairly large music event being hosted in the Mackay region, sort of late March, so they felt that giving it another month is probably a wise idea just to make sure this is a success. So basically we request that Council endorse the use of the campground area at Lake Proserpine for this event. that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter negotiations for a sponsorship agreement and in-kind donations, and I'll go through those in more detail shortly. And that we provide $5,000 out of our economic development budget for this event. So the background here is event people have reached out. They are a fairly large event management company that organise events in Australia. They're very professional and a good well-known company. So they've requested to have this Barrow Boots Country Music Festival. It will be very much a family event, which is why this date ties in with the first week of the school holidays. And artists such as Adam Brand has been mentioned as potentials that will be representing at this event. So the campsite area will be exclusively reserved for them. The day use area, as well as the public boat ramp and so forth, will remain completely open to the public. The event organisers will be responsible for all the aspects of organising and running the event, including approvals, insurances, and ensuring that the security measures are in place to manage this in a safe and responsible manner. We will provide the use of the facility. Our caretakers will man the kiosk, clean the permanent facilities, and will also be in charge of the garbage and cleanup from a garbage perspective, and also provide additional portable toilet facilities just to deal with the amount of guests. So that's our sort of contribution from Council and from our tourism budget. The benefits we feel will show that Council supports local events. Additionally, economic benefits to Proserpine as a town. We feel that it will drive a fair few guests not only to Lake Proserpine but also town and the region itself. And also it will give us further exposure for the Lake Proserpine campground and day use facilities. And additionally there will be some revenue as well into the Lake Proserpine kiosk itself. From a regulatory point of view, we'll issue a licence, or propose that we issue a licence to occupy the facility as per other events that we hold. And then the financial implications is basically this, as I've just touched on there. So it's all budgeted within economic development and within the campground.
Just on that, Sean, we'll need to go back to the mover and the seconder, but the 21st of June clashes with the Proserpine show. Okay. So I don't know if that's an issue. It would be wise to try and find another weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, Councillor Clifford.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she said that proposed date coincided with school holidays. Do we have any forward bookings and people, other than, not everybody likes music festivals, and during school holidays there might be some kind of a conflict there, and we would lose revenue, and I'm glad that they just reminded me that it's also a show. So
but that's a valid point. So look, we'll work with the organisers on a specific date, and we're happy to bring that back if need be.
So as the mover, could we change that to a date to be
We've got May or June.
May, June,
yeah. So we'll pick a suitable weekend. It's certainly very valid feedback, and it literally just came to us this week requesting for that change, just to buy a bit more time.
You happy with that,
Yeah.
Councillor Collins? Thanks for that, Sean. Good.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
So put that to the vote. Everyone's happy. It's carried 5-0. Move on to this stand up. It's 11.12 Sport and Rec Club Grants, January 2024. Moved by Councillor Thorne, seconded by Councillor Wright.
Now I hold the executive position in one of the clubs involved.
No, I'm not holding it, mate. Just leave it.
Director Julie, do you want to say anything about this one, or it's straightforward? It's all straightforward, so I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. Michael, you can return now. Moving on to 11.13, financial support for a junior elite athlete, January 24, moved by Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Wright. So do we need to go on to this, Director Julie, or straight by Councillor Wright? Yep.
I've just sort of realised one of the girls is actually in my daughter's team, so there's no conflict there, is that?
That's a fairly long vote.
Sorry?
No direct relationship.
No.
So I think being fairly straightforward, we'll just congratulate these kids and I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? So that's carried 5-0. 11-14, sponsorship request. Council. Moved by Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Bowman for the Early Beach Triathlon Club. They've asked for $5,000. Director Julie, do you want to give us a brief on this one, please?
Thank you, Deputy. So the Early Beach Triathlon, first one back in 2009. Council assisted with community grants assistance with that one. There's 24 years. So Council has been assisting the triathlon over 24 years with not a great deal of monetary funds. The majority of it has been in kind, plus the use of the Broadwater car park for the 3 days that the car park's closed for. It does bring a huge amount of people to the region. It is just getting it's just getting bigger and bigger. This year we've got a couple of race ambassadors here. One's the female is a dual Olympic triathlete and with a Commonwealth gold medalist as well. And we also have a male ambassador, and he is a multiple Ironman. So that I think in itself will attract quite a few. Looking at 300 participants over the 2-day event, and that's a lot of younger ones, juniors are coming on board with it as well. And of course with the gold sponsorship, which the 5,000 is for, Council has the opportunity. We can provide merchandise in the race packs. There's logos on the Early Beach Triathlon website. There's the backdrop at the Banquet of Champions functions, and of course the announcements all over the weekend, plus on social media. So it really is a great event, and probably a great sponsorship request as well.
Thank you, Director Julie. With no more to say, like you've explained it all, it is a big event, getting bigger every year. But so we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. We have a couple of staff outside for acknowledgements, so we might break for morning tea. Third by Councillor Clifford, second by Councillor Wright. All those in favour? That's carried 5-0. I'm slipping, I'll get sacked. So there's a live stream stay on?
It stays on, yep.
Okay. Change glasses on the front. So we'll have a couple of presentations today. Traineeship completion presentation 2024. Alyssa Glasspool. Congratulations, Alyssa. Alyssa has been completing her certification as part of the Bowen customer service team. She is often filled in at our other 3 locations, as well as and is well liked by all of our departments. She will continue employment with council within our customer service casual pool. Congratulations, Alyssa. And the other one today, Jim Smith, Crosspoint Entertainment Centre trainee. Jim, hang on, Jim. Throughout his training program, Jim has not only acquired the technical skills required as a live production and services technician, but has also demonstrated a profound understanding of the importance of effective communication, problem solving, and work in the dynamic field of entertainment technology. Jim is a focused technician who completes all tasks assigned to him with a high level of dedication, curiosity, and determination. Today we gather not just to acknowledge the completion of his training program, but to recognise the transformation of individuals into capable and confident technical professionals. Well done, Jeff. So, not much more. I'd like to congratulate us and stay for Smoko, please, and we turn the live stream off. And we'll be back in 15 minutes. chance.
Just starting up again now.
Your eyes just got it, it's 15. Yep. Welcome back, everyone. Seem to have lost my page, but anyway, all good to start. Move on to 11:15. We have a request for a donation for the 100-year anniversary celebration in Scottsville, moved by Michelle, Councillor Wright, and seconded by Councillor Collins. Good. Oh, well, this is, did you want to say anything about this, Director Julie, or it's just straightforward?
Thanks, Deputy. It is, thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, it is straightforward, and as most councillors will recall, that council has basically always donated towards the big anniversary, for big anniversary celebrations for each of the schools within the region, and this is a 100-year one, so it's a great anniversary.
Terrific. Thanks, Director Julie. So no more to say, we'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried 5-0. Thank you. Next one, 11:16, in-kind sponsorship request, Whitsunday Business Conference, moved by Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Wright. Would anyone like to speak for it? So we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. Next one, 11:17. Donations and in-kind support requests up to $2,000 for October. Moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Clifford. Put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. 11:18 is a donation request for Little Diggers Collinsville, moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Clifford. Ask a brief overview on this one, please, Director Julie.
Yes, thanks, Judy. Councillors, initially the request was for $20,000. You'll see here in the recommendation that it is to be considered for $10,000 only. Basically what it's about is, so Little Diggers Childcare in Collinsville opened in April 23, and this is a request from the Little Diggers Childcare to subsidise their daily service fee charged to parents while they're waiting for their centre's service approval to be approved by the federal government. Now they had a little bit of a hiccup, hence the reason that their application for the approval for the from the federal government was a little late going in. It has been there for 2 months. I haven't heard anything. They did make contact, and it's generally about the 60-day period that they get an answer, but they still have no answer. Without this, they're not going to be able to open. But with this will get them through possibly another 2 to 3 months if for some reason their approval sort of gets a bit waylaid and there's a little bit of time getting there. Right.
Thanks, Director Wright. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. Just to add a little bit of background to this, this is a group of mums that saw a service that was lacking within the Collinsville community, and it has evolved since then. And to be quite honest, they have done a fantastic job. Before this, there was no childcare whatsoever in Collinsville, so they are a not-for-profit group, and they've actually done a fabulous job. They have reached out for us at this point in time because most grants that are available do not cater for operational issues. So that's why that they have sort of come to us. I know that they have asked for $20,000, and I think they are actively seeking some other funding as well. But just the word only, look, I'm happy today to support the $10,000. But if worse comes to worse, and I did ask the question how much money, because they have had a lot of backing from just small businesses within Collinsville, The mines have sort of chipped in $500,000 that they estimated to date. So our contribution, I think, is, is definitely worthy. And yeah, we'd just hate to see that this fold, and I think the community would be extremely disappointed if this was to fold. But they're doing everything that they can. But if worse comes to worse, can they come back and ask for a bit more money if it is needed?
Director Julie.
So this recommendation is for 10,000 only, okay, up to 10,000 only. It would have to be a whole new re-application through. And just if I can touch on the $500,000 from one of the mines, that wasn't towards the operation of the childcare. That the building that they were in, they run into some problems when they were refurbishing. It was completely full of asbestos, and so there was 330 of that was to help with the removal of the asbestos. Their extra funding, most of their extra funding was for the initial setup, along with council and the second coal mine that helped back with the initial funding to get it established.
Thanks, Director Julie. So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. Thank you. Move on to 11.19. Up, I suppose, the monthly finance report. Moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Wright. Ask Director Jason to give us an overview of this, please.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. The highlight of the meeting each month, the monthly financial report. So, councillors, you have before you the financial details for the period up until December 2023. The report continues to show council in a stable financial position, and I'll talk to some of the detail. So at the end of the reporting period, we have a surplus of just over $3.1 million in our operations, and that should continue to be sustained through the balance of the financial year. In the first table on page 479 or thereabouts of the agenda, you'll see in our capitalised expenses there the actuals to date of $24.2 million and showing a percentage variance of 690-odd%. What I need to point out there is there's been a transfer from what was previously shown in work in progress in our annual financial statements. Those expenses have now been capitalised into the asset classification, so it's gone from what was a work in process bucket into roads or water or sewer, whatever the actual asset class is, and from an accounting perspective that flows through as a transaction. So it's not an anomaly, it just represents that we're dealing with what was in the work in progress as at the 30th of June 2023. And throughout the year we'll find opportunities to do that to try and minimise what was in that work in progress. Against the budget, the spend is continuing aligned to the budget. You will note that we are under the wages and salaries, and we're continuing to manage vacancies through the organisation, and we'll continue to work through that. As with the expenses in relation to materials and services, that continues to be under, partially due to workloads, and but also partially due to some of the delays in supply chains that we're still experiencing, both in the operations and the capital aspects. You'll notice that we've gone up in terms of the community value for the council, $1.294 billion. So as that capital work proceeds through the year, we should see the value push through the $1.3 billion value. Cash position remains or continues to remain strong, so you'll see some $20 million investments in term deposits above 3 months and just below 6 months, and then about $86 million or so left in terms of the operating revenue. We continue to monitor that cash investment so that we can maximise the value of the returns on that interest, given the interest rate cycle has continued to increase through this financial year. Rates and charges were done for the half year to June-December 2023. We continue to work on those rates that are unpaid and payment arrangements with people that are continuing to pay off their rates over time, and we'll continue to progress with the sale of land for rate arrears properties, and there's a report in closed session that will talk about the current state of that position. But the operating budget, the capital budget continues to progress through the year, so you'll see as at the half year we spent $27.4 million against the 64.7 capital program. There are remediation works that are outside that associated with our landfill, but we're getting closer to that alignment between the year and the project's progress and success. That's being assisted a lot through the capital project management work that we're doing, and the Director of Capital Projects and Network Planning presented a report to Council recently on how projects are tracking through the financial year. All of the sustainability ratios fall within the range that Council has in terms of guidance, and you'll see that even in relation to the asset sustainability ratio, where at the budget we had a red cross for just under 80%, at this point of the year we're up to almost 119% associated with that continued delivery. We are in the process of reading our water meter process still, and those billings for water and the new rates will go out likely in February, just given the current weather conditions and the workloads that staff have. That's probably the highlights, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to take questions on the financials, and if there are any capital projects, myself or the Director of Infrastructure to answer those.
Thanks, Jason. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Bowman?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thanks, Jason. Just maybe a little bit more clarity on those capital expenses. Just, we have been talking about capital works budgets and breaching the financial years and separate budgets there. But just understanding those capital expenses, are they two new assets or existing assets? Just that what we own on actual to date in our asset register is still behind the budget. So I'm just wondering, with a $20 million flow through in capital expenses, when do we find that reflecting in our assets?
Yeah, okay. You generally will see that through the annual financial statements. So as at the end of the 23 financial year, there was around about $70 million of work in progress. So out of that, we've capitalised into the assets about $20 million in round numbers. So I don't have the information on the specific asset breakdowns, but we will work through the financial year to bring that figure down. Generally, it sits in work in progress until we get the final design drawing that's mapped into our GIS system. There is a checklist that we work through around the capitalisation process. We work closely with the infrastructure services team around that and how we realise and recognise those expenses. So we will continue to report the year-to-date capital expenditure, but as you look at the financial statements, you'll see some of that recognised capital expenditure from prior years brought through for accounting purposes. So trying to give you management reports about the current capital program and its delivery, and you'll see the accounting reports reflected in the financial statements each month, most cleanly at the end of the financial year as we tidy up each of the asset classifications, and we try and minimise what's in that capital work in progress account. To give you an indication, probably for the 21 financial year, that work in progress was over $100 million, simply because a lot of the restoration work was still in there, and what you'll find is still a lot of the restoration work is still sitting in there around roads, so it'll come across and be classified. The problem that we might foresee now with the potential weather event that's coming is what we termed as damage on damage. So we will capitalise and classify, but then it's almost we need to go back and do it again because it's not representative of the actual state of the asset. So we'll always be a little bit offset in the timing there, but we're trying to tidy that up as best we can. I hope that answers your question.
Any other questions? All right, I'll put that to the vote. Everyone for? Thank you. That's carried 5-0. Thanks, Jason. Another good report. So we'll Now to move into some confidential matters, Councillor Clifford.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. On item 12.2, my screen's a bit fuzzy at the moment. I have a conflict of interest over a personal matter with one of the property owners. And I will be reading that. I have filled in a declaration form.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Clifford. I seek a mover and a seconder to close the meeting, and let's not do that first. Thanks, Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Bowden. Twin.
Yeah, read that.
Yeah. The purpose of the closures, the council closed the meeting to the public at roughly 11:13 a.m. in accordance with section 254J of the Local Government Regulations 2012 for closed meetings. The purpose of discussing the following items and the reasons for going into a closed session. Item 12.1, Harding and Enor versus Whitsunday Regional Council, Planning and Environment Court Appeal. Item 12.2, auction for intention to sell land or rate arrears. Legal advice. Also, item 12.3, a landfill management contract. And item 12.4, the wet and dry concession deed extension, Lake Proserpine Sunwater. So, move the vote. Can we have a vote on that to close the meeting, please? All those in favour, that's carried 5-0. So we'll close the meeting. we don't do that.
No, that's all good, we just need to open the door and see if anybody's there.
This is the live stream. So that was past 5-0 to.
Upstream up.
Can you put that information up, please? That's or just read the officers' reports.
12.
You've got a different one to me. Alright, 12.1. We're all good to go. Harding and Anor versus Whitsunday Regional Council Planning and Environment Court Appeal. It's moved by Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Collins. All those in favour, put it to the vote. It's carried 5-0.
Excuse me, Deputy Mayor. A conflict of interest in the next matter, and I will be leaving the room.
Thank you, Councillor Clifford. 12. Move on to screen. Item 12.2, auction for intention to sell and land in the road arrears. Could we have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Barden. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 4-0. Councillor Clifford back. Move on to. Oh, yeah, that was passed 0. Thanks, Councillor Clifford.
Thank you.
Move on to item 12.3, the landfill management contract. Moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Clifford. The resolution's up on the board there, so I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 5-0. Move on to item 12.4, the wet and dry concession deed extension Lake Proserpine and Sunwater. Moved by Councillor Clifford, seconded by Councillor Collins. Resolution's on the screen now. I'll put that to the vote. All in favour? That's carried 5-0. So that brings us to the end this night.
Late report items.
Late report items. Matters of importance. Are there any matters of importance? Councillor Clifford.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Let's go on, there it is. And I don't know which one of you will answer this. Are the new water tanks connected into the system with an impending event out there? Because I don't want to be without water again for 5 days or 6 days or whatever it was. So our water system is secure. Great, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Clifford. Any other matters of importance? With that, that's it, Mr. CEO.
Can we close the meeting?
Close the meeting, and before we close, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone, especially Acting Director Michael. You've done a great job, and this is possibly be his last time around the table at the meeting. But and let's hope that the weather's kind and we get some rain and put some inflow into the dam. And with that, I'll close the meeting. 11:50, and see you all next time.